The Sporting Chance podcast is brought to you by Ashley Clark Falconry, makers of fine, exquisite leather goods. Use the code SportingChance10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
And also, Midnight Falconry, makers of the tightest rated equipment on the market.
Where can you find him?
Anywhere. He's all around us.
Instagram?
He's always with us.
He's with us now.
He's with us right now. Richard Motes is the owner. You can DM him on any social media platform, but his page and his business name is Midnight Falconry. Very good equipment.
And tell him Casey and Aaron sent you.
Yeah.
And also, North Mountain Goshawks. The one and only Seth Roy is breeding true parent-reared Goshawks and imprints as well. I know you can't see it right now, but I'm holding one, and it's behaving like a dream come true. Welcome, everyone, to the Sporting Chance podcast. I am Aaron Kincaid.
And I'm Casey Everett.
And we are joined today by...
Nobody.
It's just us. That's not because we couldn't get somebody. It's just because we felt like we had the itch. We had to get on.
We had lots to say, lots to discuss.
Absolutely. Casey's currently risking his marriage.
I'm being selfish.
I'm in here sweating, surrounded by the aroma of cat piss emanating from the litter box.
I'm crammed in the back of my laundry room, recording off of a cardboard box.
Not going.
Yeah. Can't interrupt the laundry.
So tell me, how's that imprint doing?
Imprint's doing great, man. She's right now it's like fantasy land, you know, like everything is just like very casual and like relaxed, and there's no weight reduction. So it's all not real. It's like LARPing. Just kind of pretending. So there's nothing really. I mean, I can see little things, some differences, but you know, like at this stage, like I don't have a tremendous amount of experience with accipiters, right? But I've done enough imprints to know, like, okay, so this bird's not doing what that bird did, or you know, or it's not doing something I've ever seen before, or whatever. So I'm noticing that this bird is a lot less like defensive of the kill. Very vocal though, extremely vocal. It was like that the second I picked it up, pulled it out of the crate, and it was just like peeping and screaming and making noise, and it's just been making noise ever since. So I don't know if it's necessarily something I did. Maybe it is. But the bird was always brought to food. I never brought the bird to food. But we're doing the hack now. I got her out and about. She's about 59 days old, roughly. So almost 60 days. She'll be hard penning any day now. Almost there. And she's a real nice bird to work with. She doesn't like stepping up on the glove. She hops up like when she feels like it. Otherwise, I just sit next to her for like 30 minutes straight, waiting for her to hop up, or then I just kind of coax her up on the glove. But I kind of want it to be her idea, you know? So that's kind of...
Did you have done something differently?
Bro, I don't know if I said it on a podcast with you or if I just like said it to somebody on the phone, but every year I keep saying I'm going to buy like a mannequin arm and shove a falconry glove on it and just like bolt it to the side of like the chamber and put nothing else in there but a nest bowl and like a fake arm of the falconry glove on it, so that the bird literally...
You said that last week.
Oh, so forget it then.
Still a great idea.
Yeah, I guess.
But in the past, what have you done to encourage them to step up?
I've zip tied a glove to the bow perch, and they jump up on it, and then they like... It's so funny. It's like such a weird thing. And I get that question a lot from like random people asking me like for advice, like I know what to say. And they're all like, I can't get the bird on the glove. It's scared of the glove. And like, I've noticed that like most of them are kind of like that. They just, for whatever reason, they don't want to step on the glove, to the point where it'll jump up on the bow perch with a zip tied glove to it, and they'll stand like 1 foot all the way on this side on the rope of the bow perch and one on the other side, like it's doing a split to avoid standing on the glove. But I got excellent advice from Mike Clark about this, and I called him on the phone like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I called him on the phone, and he he said that he'll just after a kill or a an exercise or a catch even, he'll just sit like cross-legged with the glove on his knee with the bird tied off to the glove, and then just sit there for as long as it takes until the bird's just like all right, and just jumps up on his arm or the glove. And then what he said is true, because once they do that, like it's like something kind of like getting a red tail to finally like know that it can move its legs and jump off the perch to the glove or whatever when you're training. It kind of like there's like a wall that's broken, and they just kind of from that point on they kind of just hop up. They all do eventually. They just get in the routine, especially like when you're catching and killing on a regular basis and not pressuring the bird and not doing multiples and just kind of let everything be casual. They all eventually will just hop up to the glove, So I'm not worried about it. It's just annoying right now.
At any point, would you give that imprint tidbits on the glove?
I would not. No.
Never. Not even one or two.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, people say different things. Obviously there's a million opinions on making imprints and stuff. And I just think the risk of the bird getting like very footy and defensive of the glove. It's just, I don't want to take that risk by feeding on the glove in any way. I don't want to call the bird to me directly in any way. Especially with like a some sort of a hybrid, like an albitus cross. They seem to be, I don't know. I mean, if anybody has a different opinion, I'd love to hear about it. So maybe message us or post, something, and tag us, because they seem like a little bit more aggressive, like more likely to be, aggressive. Does it seem more intense than a North American? And it's just a funny story, because when I first got a 50-50, my sponsor Phil only flies North Americans, wild birds. The bird was like spinning around on the carcass and like going after me all the time, and it was like it was my third Goshawk. And he's like, I don't know what you did, but like, I've never had a Goshawk do that to me. So I don't know what you're doing, but you got to stop doing that. I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm literally just like trying to clip the bird in, and it spins around, tries to grab my hand or my head. Like, obviously I probably did something to make it defensive, but it like a North American will get aggressive and kind of go after your feet and do the Dracula walk and the crab, whatever whoever you call it. But it seems like,
I like that Dracula walk.
Well, that's
I know exactly what you mean.
Exactly, right?
They got their shoulders up,
and they're looking at you, and they're kind of like, oh, like the Grinch. Oh.
They're kind of stalking you a little bit.
Yeah, and they do that little crab walk towards your feet, and then maybe like try to like foot your feet and stuff and do stupid stuff like that. Some of these albitus birds, man, they just go from 0 to 100. They just skip the feet, skip the legs, and just go straight for your face. And so I don't want to have any type of association with the glove and, me feeding the bird directly. Like even tonight, I was in a rush. It's getting dark here, and I got home from work late, doing a bunch of stuff. And like I could have easily just went in there and like distracted the bird and dropped the quail and like ran out. But I cleared out the one chamber I have, took her from the weathering area, put a quail in the chamber, got her from the weathering area, kind of hung out with her for a little while, and then walked her in there, put her up on a perch where she couldn't see the quail, and then shut the door. And then she must have saw the quail and then flew over to it and started eating it, but I was already gone. So yeah, she'll still associate me with food because I, brought her there, picked her up, brought her there.
You were there when she ate?
No, I ran out of the room. She flew.
I mean, as far as she's concerned, like you weren't hanging out, but I mean, you were there and then food appeared, and Yeah,
that's another thing that I've heard people discuss is like, just because you're bringing the bird to food and taking the bird here, taking the bird there, and you're not feeding it directly, when you get home from work and you walk in and the bird's got to eat and it's not with you under your desk at work and the bird's at home, like a lot of us have to do. If you just walk in the door, take your shoes off, go to the nest bowl, pick up the bird sees you, you pick it up, walk outside, put it in a weathering area with food in it, let it hop out of the nest and eat, you're like indirectly associating the bird with you, because every time you appear, like food appears. So like, from my understanding, I'm still working this out, but like my understanding is, from what I've heard from other people, and you're only as good as your mentors, in my opinion, is to kind of
Shit.
is to like spend time with the bird in a non-food related way for as long as possible, and go away and then come back and go away and come back and hang out with the bird and play with its feet. And it may be acting hungry and this and that, and you just ignore it. And then, after 25, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, then you pick the bird up and then walk it to wherever your carcass is, or your bowl of food or whatever, or the other nest with food in it, and then let the bird eat that way rather than being in a rush. It seems like in falconry, every time you're in a rush, it's just bad things happen. That's my personal experience. Like whenever you're in a rush, you're getting footed. The dog's not doing what it's supposed to do. You're just in a rush. You're just got other things on your mind. So
it sucks when you're in a position like me where you especially during the winter, when it gets dark super early, so you rush home to try and hunt real quick.
Yeah.
And you're obviously in a rush because you literally have 1 hour to get the bird, get to a field, hunt, and get the bird back,
Yeah.
And it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Sometimes it works out, but yeah, when you got trouble getting the bird hooked up, you can't get the GPS on, it's not linking, and it's just a recipe for disaster, but it's the reality for most falconers, to be honest.
So how about a feeding shoot? Get home, bird never sees you, drop food in.
They'll associate the door opening with you. They'll associate the footsteps.
No door, just a shoot, like a PVC pipe.
You could. I mean, no one's breaking any ground here. No one's coming up with any new ideas. I'm sure it's been done. Seth and Lance, they're not walking in the chamber and launching quail in there for them to catch. The quail are just appearing, and the stuff is just falling in through a flap, and they don't know where it came from. They don't hear anything because there's fans going and noise makers. So there's something to be said for that. But I do know that they will imprint on, because people try like cat feeders like that are on a timer.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've heard, it just like the bird still turns out the same. They still associate you in some way, shape, or form with food. And I got a message from somebody, and he was nice. He was nice about it, but he was, I was calling the bird back from hack in one of my reels, and I had a long string with a rabbit on it, and I was dragging it through the grass out in the field for the bird to come down and get it. And he kind of said, well, you're calling the bird to you. And I'm like, he said it should always leave the fist for food. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, that's ideal. And most of what this bird eats, this particular bird, is from the glove. I usually get it on the glove and do a bag, or get it on the glove and go to
I tell him to shut the fuck up.
And then he said, like, none of our birds scream here in Germany or wherever he was. We don't have screaming birds. Your birds are already screaming. And he was kind of like, low key dissing me.
Do a World War II reenactment on this guy.
And, but I mean, I think it's all about how much time you have and how much time you can put into it. I mean, if you have all the time in the world to do all these things, I mean, you could do it. I didn't really get into the conversation with him, and it would be beneficial to me too, because, when your bird's on hack, like, how are you getting it back from hack in order to get it on the glove to then go?
He's like, well, it's quite simple. We throw out the trap and we trap it. We throw the chucker out with the bone net.
No offense to our German listeners. We have a few German listeners, but
there are a few I saw on the map.
Yeah.
So if you've stuck with us this long, I hope you can take a joke.
We're just joking around. But yeah, so I was just from like a logistical day-to-day standpoint, I was wondering how you would go about doing that. and most of the time if I'm not hacking or I don't have time, I will walk the bird on the glove and get it acquainted with being on the glove, because right now it's still nervous to be on the glove and a little bit uneasy with itself. And part of me thinks that could be an Albitus thing, because the North American, she was fine on the glove from like day one. And I don't know if that's because of subspecies thing. It took the North American a while to get on the glove, and it was also scared of rabbit carcasses and baggies, like well into being hard penned. It was scared of them.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, it was like terrified of little rabbit baggies. It would put its wings out, it'd fly down. It couldn't help itself. It'd fly down. But then if the rabbit like moved in the bird's direction, it would like put its wings out and tack and fly away. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, this bird's a dud. Meanwhile, we caught 75 rabbits this year. But this bird, literally before, it was not nowhere near hard penned. It was probably about like 3 weeks ago. I mean, this thing was flying out of the nest bowl to kill a baggie, like a little rabbit. Flying like before I could even get the nest ball on the ground. I already saw the rabbit moving, and it just launched itself out of the nest ball to get it. So
it's funny how all these different goshawks truly are different. They're not just goshawks.
No, man, they really are different. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, a goshawk's a goshawk. Yes, a goshawk is a goshawk. They all require like a certain, way to handle them. Like you don't want to, crop them up on your glove when you're imprinting them. You don't want to do stupid things, that are going to bite you in the ass later. But there is definitely differences between like the subspecies in like the way they act. You know what I mean? But I don't know for sure. I don't have a tremendous amount of experience, but just from my anecdotal experience,
it seems like it to me too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure the bird will turn out. I'm excited to see her fly sometime in the near future.
Me too.
Is she getting stronger? That you posted a reel on Instagram and she looked like a wet, chicken trying to get into a tree. Has she built any muscle?
She looked like an albatross. It's like, what the heck?
That's an albatross goss.
Yeah. It was, no, it's funny because she flew like that. And then by the end of the day, she was like whipping through the treetops, up over the treetops, flying around. And, and just yesterday, she was like flying around my neighborhood, going here, going there. And she was flying pretty good. I mean, she landed on like a, broken branch, like a dead branch, and like fluttered down and spun around. It's funny, to watch them do stupid stuff like that. Lands on a 45-degree angle branch and's like flapping and like trying to hold on and screaming and making noise. It's like, it's funny, that they're learning. But you have to do that because I don't understand people that don't hack. I mean, I did it before, like not hacking a bird, and like all the work that's done during the hack, it's like a passive, income. You're putting the bird out, like putting your money in the stock market, like, and you're just not doing anything, and you're hopefully gaining, right? Maybe not nowadays, but hopefully gaining something in return without having to put much work in. And that's literally what the hack does. Like instead of going out with your bird on the glove without hacking, and like the bird barely knows how to fly or land or do anything, and you're like putting slips in front of it. My mentor Phil, he told me this, and this was just like it hits the nail on the head. It's just, it's common sense. It's like, how many slips do you think you would have to give a goshawk in one day in order for it to flap and move itself as much as in an 8-hour day or 12-hour day of being out on hack?
You can't replicate it.
You can't. You can't. The only way you could make up for it is if you're hunting nonstop and you're hunting like jacks on long flights or squirrel hawking. Those are the two. And squirrel hawking, in my opinion, is much more muscle building than chasing jacks. But pumping like that across long distances to fly down a jack, that will build muscle. But I think flying vertically up and down trees, chasing squirrels would probably build a little bit more muscle. And I found that's, you could do all the weighted stuff and the games, and a lot of guys like the games. I don't enjoy the games. I want to get in the field. I'd rather just let my bird chase and, casually chase things at a higher weight and just kind of ease into the process than tie ropes and chains and gear to the bird and do all these exercises. And, you will get an incredibly fit bird from doing that. It just doesn't, I don't enjoy it.
Hacking's easier.
Yeah, you just put the bird out and let it chase squirrels around nonchalantly, fly around, play with a leaf. Go over here, go because it's going to do it anyway. So if you go, you got squirrels over here running around a tree, and the birds over there playing with the leaf. That's what's going to happen. And and it's going to happen because if you slam the bird's weight, then you're just going to have a negative reaction. You're going to force something that doesn't need to be forced at that time. You want to let the bird progress. There's a certain point when you really need to start kind of inching the weight down. But you definitely don't want to start bringing the weight down right away. You want to let the bird kind of gain some fitness and get in the groove of things. Learn how to handle itself in the wind. Learn how to handle itself in the trees. Like, it's just common sense. I mean, it's risky and it's scary. Like, believe me, I know. But the benefits outweigh the risks, for sure.
I was going to say that's the downside, is the potential risk of losing your bird getting killed. And I'm sure every year there's a bird on hack that's killed.
Yeah, it can happen. It can literally happen at any time.
All righty. So let's discuss the topic at hand. So we wanted to discuss habitat and finding permissions or properties to hunt.
Yeah, that's the number one goal in falconry, I would say, is finding fields and finding new fields and finding more fields, because that's the name of the game.
Yeah, because it's like whack-a-mole. You're going to lose one and you need to be hitting another. Or by the time you gain one, you've lost one.
Yeah, and you don't want to go to the same field all season because that's just idiotic. Unless it's getting developed. That's something I will say is there's one spot that I have that's really good. And they're just, I mean, it's like one building goes up, another building goes up, and then it's like now they're down to like one big lot. And that, I mean, it's going to go. So
if I don't really feel this bad. Year, you got to hit it hard, right?
I'm just going to hit it super hard this year.
It could be interesting to hit a place as hard as you could and see if the rabbits came back the year after. I've never done that.
I don't think I've ever done that. But I have hit a spot too much in my earlier days with like red tails and my dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And you just literally don't see anything. There was one spot.
Do they come back the following year though?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And the one spot that I hit, like I literally cleaned out the whole woodlot of squirrels. And I think I caught and this was like my third year general, or could have even been my second year apprenticeship. And I just would ride my bike to this one woodlot right down the end of my street. And I would just fly my red tail there every single day. And I caught like 80 something squirrels that year and like 2 rabbits. And, like at the end of the season, I just stopped going there because I would just pull every vine and walk the entire woodlot and there wouldn't be one single thing in there. Which is common because squirrels they do migrate, believe it or not. They do hibernate also, which it's like a semi-hibernation that they do, which is interesting. I never really knew that. I learned about that recently, that they will kind of do like a semi-hibernation where they'll spend periods of time kind of like not moving and lowering their heart rate and stuff like that. But they will migrate. There was actually a study done by some college, and they observed one male squirrel. It went 60 miles.
Wow.
60 miles.
Huh.
You know how far away that is?
It's about 60 miles.
Like roughly 60 miles. Give or take.
So these people who rehab a squirrel and they release it in their yard and they say, no, you can't hunt in the woods back here because we released a squirrel here. Probably long gone, right?
Depends on how many squirrels are there, if there's a food resource. And that's the biggest thing. If you want to talk about spots and finding spots, there has to be, so there's a few things that have to be there. And this is something that I'm still learning and still trying to identify. And I remember we would drive around and I'd be in the back seat and Paul and Phil would be in the front seat and we'd be checking new spots. And they always pushed like, we got to check new spots. I'd be like, well, why don't we just go to that spot? There's always rabbits there. And they were like, no, we're going to go find a new spot. And I'm like, but there's rabbits. And like, I just couldn't get it through my head that like, you have to find new spots. Like I didn't understand. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't understand because I didn't. I really didn't. And we'd pull in with the truck or the Jeep, depending on, they had like this broken down truck. It was so funny. And then they had this Jeep, and we would drive around, check these spots. And Paul Leo, who was a previous guest on the show, he's like super good at like analyzing a spot. And he would just jump out of the truck, run, like go out in the field, maybe cut one dog loose, no birds, no nothing. We wouldn't even get out of the truck. Sometimes we would, and Paul would just kind of walk the field, and he'd be all hunched over looking at the grass, and the dog would be be watching the dog, and they'd be like, "No, it's garbage. Go." And I'm like, "But the cover looks exactly the same as that other spot that I was telling you to." And they're like, "Nope, no food." They'd be like, "There's no food here. There's no food here, or there's no cover here." Like, just because you have a field, I mean, unless you're out west, right? Let's be honest. Unless you have certain things in the east, at least. I can only speak for the east, and I'm not mocking anybody out west. You guys have your own challenges. You got to walk very far and get new sneakers. Just kidding.
It can be a little windy, a little chilly.
It can be windy sometimes. Lots of wind, lots of sun. I'm just kidding. I really am. I'm just secretly extremely jealous, and I'm really jealous. I went out to California with Connor Bucalo, and it's like, dude, what are we doing? Why do I live here? Like, just wander around and there's just rabbits running everywhere. But so there's a few things in the East, and this is what I've gathered over talking to people like Teddy, Jeff Kissack, actually at the PA meet 3-4 years ago. I was talking with him and Seth. He had a beautiful fin. Seth had a North American Passage, and I had the Talvey bird. And he is extremely analytical, and like they're both very smart and like, well-spoken guys, Jeff and Seth. And Jeff was kind of just explaining to me, like, okay, so we're standing there talking while Seth is doing his thing with the cocker. And Jeff just goes, he goes, okay, see all this green grass? And it's like February. And there's still like some green grass in the middle of this field. And then about 50 yards away is like this thick, gnarly looking hedgerow. And so he kind of explained to me that rabbits in a situation like that, where there's like dead goldenrod and long grasses that are not necessarily what they're eating on, but there is a grass or food source within that stuff, like underneath it, like clover. They'll be roughly within 50 yards of that, and they need cover within 50 to 100 yards of that. So just because you see chewings in this spot, that doesn't necessarily mean the spot is filled with rabbits. And I get pictures from like guys all the time, like Zach, who's going to come on the show, a couple other guys, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, look at these chewings!" And I love seeing chewings, right? Because it's just like such a good sign that there's rabbits in an area. But you'll beat the whole spot out, and your dogs won't even get hot once. And that's because they're chewing and they're in those locations at night. They're not there during the day. They're there at night. So you have to kind of like work backwards. Like, where are they coming from to come out here and feed and do all these chewings? Because there's nowhere for them to hide here. They wouldn't be here during the broad daylight. They wouldn't really be there during broad daylight anyway, unless there was good cover, right? So there has to be like some factors. Number one, you have to look for sign. You have to look for tracks if there's snow. You got to look for poop, right? That's like a big thing. If there's poop and piss on the snow, and it's so weird. Have you seen rabbit piss on the snow? It looks like blood.
It never snows here.
Oh yeah. Well, up here, every now and then you'll see like rabbit tracks everywhere, and then just like this, like looks like somebody like drank like 20 Monsters and then like nothing else, and didn't drink water for like 24 hours, and then just like pissed on the snow. it's like brown, yellow.
So it's like a teenage boy's piss.
Yeah, literally. It's like Harrison's piss. and it's I don't know why they do that. I should probably research that. But so you want to see different spots. You want to see different things, right? So you want to see cover, you want to see a food source, and you want to see variations in different places for them to hide. So if there's like one thick area that's like 50 yards, but it's a little tiny strip, they may not really be in there. You know what I mean? It may look good, but maybe it's too vulnerable. Like, you have to think, if my bird's going to have trouble getting in here, then this is probably a good spot to try. Because if my bird's going to have trouble getting in here, my dogs are going to have trouble getting in here, then this is probably where rabbits are. And there's a food source too. There's some sign. Let's try to hit this field. It's like and I'm still learning myself, because it's like an art finding new. You can't just go anywhere in a lot of places. You kind of have to there's a reason why they're there. There's water, there's food, there's cover. It's
And you always have to contend with predators too. So you may find the perfect field that's got everything you need, but there's not many rabbits in it.
Yeah.
And that's because of predators. So it could be feral cats, could be foxes, bobcats, coyotes.
100%.
I think they say feral cats are the number one, but they're really getting the young. I don't think the feral cats are really getting the adult rabbits so much.
I don't know. I think if they could, if they had an opportunity, they would.
But they say like one bite or one scratch from a feral cat is pretty much a death sentence for a rabbit.
You just get AIDS immediately.
Yeah, just immediately. One thing that I always look for too is, so we're talking about thick cover, but if it's too thick, if the ground is covered with thick vegetation, the rabbits can't really run in that. Like the ideal spots for me down here is very thick, like a foot higher off the ground, but you can look through all of the blackberries, the honeysuckle, and you can see bare dirt because the rabbit can move through that. If you go to a field of just like fescue grass and you can barely like walk through it, rabbits cannot run through that.
Yeah.
So my experience, you're not going to see a rabbit in that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can't speak for North Carolina, and I'm sure it's a completely different thing. But yeah, if there's a balance, I would imagine down there by you, because if it's too open under there, then the foxes can chase right after them, right behind them. So it has to be like just the right amount of cover where the rabbit can run around and escape predators, ground predators, with cover above them to escape avian predators, and then still be able to feed and drink and everywhere and everything else. You know what I mean?
My favorite spots are places where hawks and owls can't catch them, wild ones, and ground predators can't catch them. So the only reason I'm able to catch them is because I've got the dogs and the hawk.
Yes, exactly. And that's like the cheat code. Running dogs and having the hawk waiting on, because you're going to get the rabbits to do things that they're not going to normally do.
Yeah, they're all fucked up. They know there's a hawk up there. They know there's dogs on the ground. They know there's a person there. They're going to make a mistake if you push them hard enough.
Yeah, hopefully. It's the name of the game.
How do you like hunting with someone who their bird won't work with dogs?
I don't like to.
I hate it.
It's really annoying. I mean, I'll do it. I just love flying too much to not do something, but if I'm at a meet and we got like 4 guys with dogs and then like one guy with like his bird won't fly with dogs, and so I'm like next, let's go. Let's go.
It sucks, man. And while you're beating brush, you kind of grew up with dogs around in your falconry.
Yeah.
When I started, nobody had dogs down here. I was, I feel like falconry is cyclical, like things will come and go, like trends will, everyone's got dogs for a while and then nobody has dogs. I started falconry during one of those times where nobody had dogs. So I kind of, I was one of the first people down here in, recent years to run dogs. So I learned falconry with no dogs around. So you were just beating brush with a stick. And for every rabbit you see, you're probably not seeing 20 when you're doing that.
Oh yeah.
Down here at least.
Yeah, I mean I've seen rabbits walk right, you walk right past them,
Yeah, you look down and it's hunkered down.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have moved otherwise.
No. Yeah, I've caught them that way. My dogs have caught them that way. And I was at a meet and Teddy Maris, she caught one that way. I'm sure she's caught more like that.
Reached down and grabbed it.
Just reached down through the briars and just pulled it out. It wasn't going to run.
That's funny.
Yeah, it just didn't want to move. It was just like trauma. It was like terrified. It just didn't want to run.
I've never gotten to do that.
Yeah, it's I mean, when you put enough pressure on them, they don't want to move. And also they're, especially like you said, if there's dogs and birds and the rabbit knows that there's dogs and birds and this stupid clumsy person walks past them, they're like, "Oh, come on. I'm not scared of this guy."
Yeah.
Just let this idiot just go right past me. Dude, one time I was talking with Brian Bradley and a couple other guys. And dude, we had like 7 dogs on the ground and a red tail or a goshawk, I can't remember. And I was on the far side and I was trying to cut off the hedge. It was like probably a 35-yard hedge that went for like, 2 football fields. And the rabbits were just like running one way and then running back the other way. I was instructed to kind of like play defense on the one side to try to like push them back. Dude, this rabbit ran right towards me. Didn't see me. I froze and the bird was completely out of position. So I didn't want to like do anything. And, I was kind of like, I'm like, over here, rabbit over here. And I didn't want to yell because the bird was completely out of position. Did I watch this rabbit like walk and creep, jump up on a log? And it walked, bro, it was like 6 feet off the ground. It walked up the log, vines everywhere, right? Like vines and brush and stuff, like all overgrown. It walked up the freaking log and up into the brush and then was up on the log inside the brush, like 6 feet off the ground.
Whoa.
Like 4 feet over my head.
That is crazy.
I'm not that short, but whatever. I needed an extension ladder to get up there.
I didn't catch that part. I was like, my thoughts were 4 feet off the ground, so it was 8 feet up in the air, or 4 feet over your head, so it was 8 feet in the air.
Yeah, no, it was 6 feet. It had to be at least 6 feet. It was like over my head, a little bit over my head. And I mean, like, dude, you would like, and never in your life would you think, oh, a rabbit's going to be.
Dude,
it was up there. I watched it walk up.
That blows my mind.
Yeah. And then I was like yelling because then it was up there, and I knew it wasn't going to leave. I'm yelling. I'm like, it's right here. It's over here. And then like we went up and like, I'm like, there's a rabbit up here. And they're like, no way. And we didn't catch it, I remember. And it like snuck out the side and like launched out. And I mean, Eric Swanson has a great story of the rabbit going up the dead trunk of the tree and the dachshund going up after it. And then the rabbit like shoots out of the top like 10, 15 feet off the ground. And then the bird just followed it to the ground and drilled it. And then the dog sticks its head up there. And everyone's like, no, jump. And the dog's all the way up there. It's friggin' awesome. Wild. Rabbits will do some crazy stuff, man. They're so cool.
I'm trying to think if I've ever seen a rabbit do anything out of the ordinary, other than run.
Just run really fast.
Just run its little ass off. Yeah, I don't have any crazy rabbit stories. Teddy tells me that they'll chimney up a hollow tree.
Yeah.
I've never even seen that.
Yeah, rabbits will go some crazy. But I was hawking a spot early season. There was no rain. It's like a swampy area. I had Ellie, my black and tan. I was probably 14, 15 years old. And I stumbled onto this spot. And that's why having a good dog is like such a huge plus. So in these swampy areas, and I'm sure it's a lot down by you is very similar, but like the trees grow, like they're not like mangrove trees, like where the roots are like up off the ground, but it was like kind of like that. And there's like little like caves underneath all these trees because they're used to being like underwater. Mm-hmm. And dude, we flushed like 25 rabbits like in this one spot.
Cottontails?
They were all cottontails and they were all under these little like caves. And only the dachshund could get in there. Like nothing else could get them except for a mink, maybe a fox in certain of the trees. But other than we're just so tight. And I mean, she flushed 2 out of 1, not 3. It was 2 out of 1 tree. And then she started checking all of them. And there was just literally rabbits running all over the freaking. It was out of control. This was years ago in a spot like right by my house growing up as a kid.
One time I was hunting marsh rabbits.
Swamp rabbits?
Can't remember off the top of my head. Let me pull it up.
The same thing? They have shorter ears, right? They have
shorter ears, and they have feet like a little capybara.
Like little webbed feet, right?
Yeah, they're really weird. I caught 2, and I saved the feet on them to, like a lucky rabbit's foot.
Yeah.
I need to give one of those to Teddy. She'd probably get a kick out of it.
Yeah, that is cool. I think.
Yeah, it's a marsh rabbit.
I think up by me, they're like you can't take them or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know. You tell me, big dog.
No, I don't know. I don't have enough, but I think there might be like oh no, maybe that's a New England cottontail you can't take.
Yeah, I know you can't take those. I have read that.
Yeah, those you can't.
So we have what they call marsh rabbits, but I believe there's another one in like Louisiana called a swamp rabbit. But the marsh rabbits, they have like little capybara feet and, like Casey said, little short ears. And I hunted them one time. I would love to hunt them again.
Was it on purpose?
No, I mean, I didn't really know they were there. Well, somebody told me there were marsh rabbits there, and but I knew there were cottontails there, and we were hunting, and I was flying Harris Hawks at the time, and my alpha bitch female, she would just like crash into the water, and she wasn't coming up, and I would have to go over there. I was wearing my muck boots. I would wade over there, and she's just standing in the water, and she's got a rabbit underwater.
That's so cool.
She's just holding it underwater.
That's probably like one of the most satisfying feelings, right?
It was pretty cool, and they don't scream because they can't. They're
Yeah.
Bubbles coming up.
Like that guy with the great white shark video.
Oh, dude, I love that video. So
Hate that.
yeah, it was. I wanted to go back. North Carolina is such a long state. You know.
Yeah.
Like to get to the beach here in North Carolina, it's like 6 hours from where I live.
Jeez.
Yeah. So you have like to get all the way across the state, it'd be like 8 or 9 hours, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty.
You went from the mountains to the beach. So some of these things like marsh rabbits, they're like 4 hours away from me.
Dude, it's worth the trip if you know. At least if you know you can find them. Or I mean, with your dogs, if there's rabbits there, go find them.
Oh, we could definitely find them.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about some of those states like yours. Like Jersey has some diversity. We have like mountains, and then look at that thing. Aaron's bringing up the picture. Very interesting. Little tiny ears. It looks like a guinea pig, kind of.
Yeah, the body is kind of like a guinea pig
with the little tiny ears.
Yeah, they're the size of normal cottontail too. But yeah, I would love to hunt those and fox squirrels. I said in the last episode, I've been to one place that had fox squirrels a few years ago, and haven't been back. Just waiting for the invite.
How many hours away is that?
Oh, probably 2 or 3 hours.
That's not bad. Yeah, dude, like Jersey, you could get from like the top of Jersey all the way down to like Maryland in like 3 hours.
Mm. And the whole state's almost the same, right?
No, it's definitely different. Like up by me, and especially where I live now, it's like real mountainous and not mountains, but like definitely hilly, and there's some decent, topography. But then down like where the meat is held in South Jersey, it's like just flat. Just completely flat.
Yeah, I like it down there.
Yeah, it's nice.
It kind of reminds me of coastal North Carolina, but we don't really have many falconers out there. I feel like if there were some real serious falconers on, northeastern North Carolina, they could probably clean up because there's quail there. There's tons of waterfowl there. I'm sure there's tons of rabbits.
Snipe, isn't there snipe down there? Isn't there some decent snipe hawking that goes on down there, or no?
Nobody here does it.
Okay.
But I've seen the snipe there. You go out to these agricultural fields and the ditches are just loaded with snipe.
You got to get out there. Hello.
With what? What do you think I would hunt? What do you think I'd use to hunt them?
A cast of Harris Hawks and a T-perch.
Yeah, that might do the trick.
Yeah. Or a Goshawk.
Go out with 4 Tiercel Harris Hawks on a T-perch.
Yeah, that's the way to go. It's elite.
They just catch them and fly into the top of a tree and eat it.
Yeah.
And I just stand on there and catch the beak when it drops it.
And just put it in your pocket. That's all you want anyway. That little beak.
There was one of my friends was attempting to fly a little falcon. He had a little weird, who the hell knows what kind of mix it was. Little falcon flying it around, and he was not successful when I saw him. He may have caught snipe, but I think most of those guys that live out that way just do squirrel hawking with a red tail.
Hey, you can't beat that. There's not much that can beat that. That's a lot of fun.
So another thing I look for with rabbit habitat, cottontail habitat, is like places. A lot of new falconers, which I would, a seasoned falconer might listen to this if they're bored, right?
I
This
mean, we
episode.
got a few. We got a few.
Yeah, no, I'm saying this particular episode. But for a newer falconer, I'm a big fan of the OnX hunting app.
Yeah, base map. I use base map.
Okay. I've never even heard of base map. OnX, base map, they're probably similar.
Exact same thing, yeah.
Scout locations, you can click on a parcel of land and tell exactly who owns it and how big it is.
Farmer Billy owns that property.
Farmer Billy, and then you could go knock on his door. And they always say, I've never done this, they always say to have a hawk on your fist when you knock on the door.
Yeah, that's a whole thing that I'm not well versed in. I never asked permission.
Okay. I
just lose my bird on other people's properties all the time. No, like if there's signs on a property, I usually don't go in because I'm not trying to get in trouble, whatever. But if there's no signs, screw you. I don't, you know what I mean? If and I think a lot of states, if it's not
depends on your state.
Yeah, if it's not posted, bro, like not my problem.
I think some people would probably disagree with you on that.
Well, I'll just say so sorry. I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
But the problem is nowadays with the apps, it's like you really don't have any excuse to trespass anymore.
And game cams. Could you imagine being spotted on a game cam and then they come rolling up because they saw you?
Bro, I would pay some good money to see footage of me on a game cam. Just stumbling around. Yeah. I had to have been on a few. I've been all, you know what I mean? Like you're all over the place.
I know for a fact I was on one. I had permission on the spot, but the bird flew onto somebody else's property, and that's fine. I was legit. I walked over there, but I would still avoid a game cam if I could, even if I was fine, right?
Yeah.
So I walked over there to try and call the bird back, and I walk by and I look at a game cam and I just wave. And they were like, "What the hell is this guy doing?"
Yeah. It's great. My buddy's got a property upstate New York in the middle of literally nowhere, like 250 acres on this mountain. And like the nearest neighbor is like 3 miles away. And you go up over the mountain, down the other side, you go for miles through all the other properties without another house anywhere nearby. And he's got, trail cams everywhere. He's like, that's where I shot my first buck up there. I shot my first bear up there. And like the one day we were going up, we driving around and we're collecting all the cameras, like early season. Dude, there's just like this random guy, like in the middle of nowhere, just like standing in front of the camera.
Doing what?
Just standing there.
Slow jacking?
Yeah, I was going to say that. No, he was literally just standing there. It was like super, and it's not even my property. It's like kind of creepy. No gun, no nothing. He was just like in a sweatshirt, just like standing there, miles from anywhere.
I don't like that.
Yeah, it was creepy. And then he put signs. He put a bunch of signs up. It was like, it's not the only camera on the property. And then I think one of them got stolen, I think. So it's probably the same guy. And he's got like cellular cameras, like that go right to his email and like, spares no expense. And, it's just like in the middle of nowhere, the game. I've seen him before and I've tried to avoid him, but I have to have been on a few because, I see tree stands all the time. So there's no way I'm not walking past, trail cameras on a regular basis.
Of course, yeah. I see deer feeders in the woods. You ever see those? Just like a big PVC pipe strapped to a tree, like a gravity fed deer feeder.
Yeah, that's up by me. We got the remote control ones with timers on the tripods and all that. Well, not where I live now. Not right.
You wouldn't leave that somewhere where it could be stolen.
Well, it depends where you live. I'm in a very nice area. But yeah, up by me, you can't bait in New York. You can't bait anything in New York, which is kind of stupid, but yeah, you can't bait in New York. So there's none of that. In Jersey, you can bait everywhere. So, when I'm hawking Jersey, you see feeders, cameras, salt blocks, everything, mineral licks, everything all over the place.
What do you think would happen if somebody was trespassing on Seth Roy's property?
Probably get sniped with a thermal drone before you even realized. First of all, you have to climb over the 8-foot high fence. That's
exactly what I was thinking. Is you're out there and you hear like a It's just- you look up at the sky and see like a little blinking red light.
Like
Next
those,
thing you know, you're just getting blown into pieces.
like those damn Ukrainian videos I see for some reason. I don't know why I keep getting them on my feed on Instagram. Of
Yeah,
like
guys like running from a drone, like
It's-
begging
they're like,
them to stop.
dude, it's so terrible. I'm like, why am I watching this? Like the drone's like chasing them, then they like dive out of the way, and then the drone. That would literally be what happened if you went to Stetson.
You sure that wasn't in the mountains of Pennsylvania?
Yeah. Yeah. And then if the drone doesn't get you, he'll put a hole in you from like three-quarters of a mile away with all the shit he has at his house. So literally the last place I would like try to do anything. It's like the last, yeah, just the last place. First of all, in PA in general, you wouldn't screw around out there. They got like, you can carry, you got suppressors. It's like the last place you'd want to screw around.
Seth actually doesn't sleep either.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't sleep. He just rests.
And the way he rests is he sits down in his like bat cave surveillance room.
Yeah.
Just
No, he doesn't sit. He just has a bamboo mat. He lays on it for about 45 seconds and just stares at the ceiling, and then he's refreshed.
he stands in front of the wall of screens with his hands behind his back,
just watching all his birds copulating, and he's just like, yes, yes. And then like he gets a sensor that goes off, and like some hillbilly guy's like looking around with like a Marlin 30-30, like looking for a deer with like a freaking twig hanging out of his mouth. And Seth just like launches the drone, just like freaking mushroom cloud like half a mile away up in the mountain. And it goes back to laying on his mat.
Oh no, I'm dying.
I could literally see Seth doing that.
Absolutely. We're on the exact same page.
Yeah. I mean, anybody that puts that much care and attention and detail into his birds, his property, his business, his household. I mean, his children are just impeccably behaved. Hello, sir, nice to meet you. And they're like little kids. It's just like incredible. So, yeah, I would definitely, I would not put it past him to.
They call you sir, and he leans down. He goes, "Don't call him sir."
Yes, father. I wish my son would do that. I got to take some lessons. I got to take some lessons from Seth.
Yeah, my daughter's a little redneck running around. So, yeah, finding spots, challenging. I think it's probably the hardest part for new falconers, or for it just in falconry in general, is finding spots. I feel like anybody can train a hawk. It's finding good spots.
100%. That's why I said at the beginning of the show, that's the name of the game, because you can get a red tail, you can have somebody trap one for you, your sponsor can help you, you can get handed one, you can put all the effort in to get it, you can train it, you can figure it all out. But putting consistent game in front of it in a lot of parts of the United States is not easy. Especially without dogs and not running dogs. I mean, I think about it when I used to do it, and it's backbreaking. It's not even like, it's borderline like not even fun, because you put your bird up and then you have to like plow through like 6-foot high briars to just maybe get one rabbit to like move, and then the bird goes down, checks up, goes land, looking, and then you got to plow through it, and there's snow. It's just like it's brutal. And I mean, takes a lot of effort to put game in front of your bird. That's why squirrel hawking is fun, because if you don't have dogs, squirrel hawking, like you can easily squirrel hawk without dogs and still have a blast and put a lot of game in front of your bird.
Yes. So on the subject of squirrel hawking, squirrels, I as far as I'm concerned, they're pretty easy to find, right?
You'd be surprised. Early season, yes. Early season, there's squirrels all over. But then as the season progresses, I've noticed that just like the random woodlot that, early season, you'll catch one or two or something. If you go back there, like January, it's just bare. There's just nothing there. So
it can be that way with rabbits too. At that point, their numbers have dwindled down to a bare minimum.
Yeah, rabbits are definitely, they're more like, they need they have more specific needs to where they're going to be, and you kind of have to be able to find that. And then it's nice once you find it, because then you just log it on a piece of paper, or you put it in your GPS, and now you have the spot forever until they bulldoze it and put up a Walmart. But with the squirrels, yes, they're everywhere and they're easier to find. Definitely easier to find. But I found that later in the season, like as it starts getting colder and the leaves fall and stuff like that, if there's no squirrel nests around, like in an area, then that's pretty much like a good indication. At least that's what I go on.
Well, some places have a lot of hollow trees and squirrels will take refuge in those, but that's a whole nother challenge because the squirrels will just dive into a hole and you'll never see them again.
Yeah. I got this one spot by my house where I live now, and it's like this one like old like million-year-old oak tree in the middle of this field. And in the middle of the winter, there'll be like 4 squirrels like foraging around right underneath it. There's nothing around it. There's no grass. There's grass, but there's no cover or anything. There's one sapling right next to it, and that's it.
And you'll never catch those squirrels.
I've been trying. Yeah, it's like impossible. I've been trying, because the second you stop the car, they all run into the same giant hole. Like 100 feet up in the tree. It's so annoying. It's like impossible. Golf courses are like that too. You'll see squirrels all out in the golf course, and then they'll just run into one old tree and go in the hole, and they're gone. So
squirrels always know where they're going to.
Yeah, that's why you got to cut them off. You got to jump in front of them. You got to try to like mess up whatever their little plan is, and you have to get in the middle of it. But yeah, so if later in the season, if I'm trying to try a new spot and I'm specifically going for squirrels, I don't normally get out and try the spot unless there's either a bunch of like vines, right, and squirrel nests. Because I'm like, it's just the middle of the woods. Like, yeah, there might be squirrels here, but then if they're here, then that means there's holes, like you said. And do I really want to hawk a spot with a million holes?
Right.
I'd rather take my chances with the squirrel nest and the vines, because at least those we can get moving.
I never understood why in South Jersey there's not many squirrels. Why is that?
There's squirrels there. I think it's because we always go there for rabbits.
Did Harrison catch them all?
Harrison caught them all, yeah. No, it's because I feel like we're always there for rabbits. You know what I mean? When we go down there, there's rabbits everywhere, so we're there for rabbits. We're not really going to the woodlots think about those hedgerows we were working. Like, how many vines did we pull? Like, not many of us were pulling vines. We were all just like kicking brush.
I pull every vine I see if I can.
Well, that's good. You're a special,
I'm a hard worker.
Yeah, you're a special breed out here.
So I think that one of my favorite squirrel hawking habitats is a certain level of growth. Not the giant, big, old growth trees that are like 20 feet tall. You'll get it like intersped. You'll have like a big old growth hardwood tree, and then you'll have little 12-foot tall, whatever understory trees. Find a lot of squirrel nests in those smaller trees.
Yeah. That's good, man. Yeah, because it's like we said, it's just, I'm going to say it again. It's the name of the game. It's finding where they are. It's figuring out where they're going, where they're hiding, where the holes are. Squirrels will go down groundhog holes. That was another thing about rabbits that we didn't bring up, was that, at least by me, if there's groundhogs there, then a lot of times there's rabbits there, because the rabbits, will use the runs under the brush, like we were talking about, that the groundhogs plow their way through, and they make like these little tunnels everywhere, and the rabbits will just use them. And then in the winter, when they're hibernating in the side passage, the rabbits will use those holes for cover, which is great. It gives them an extra place to hide when they're pressured.
I was talking to Tom about this, that we don't have many groundhogs here. We have them. Yeah, they are here. We do have them. But I just rarely ever run into groundhog holes in the field.
You think that's because you're not noticing because it's so thick down there? It's got to be super thick, right?
I don't know. It is super thick, but I don't know. I see groundhogs like on my way home from work pretty consistently. It's, mowed hillsides. They're there. They love that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I just don't really. I mean, you could always find groundhogs if you wanted to here, but I just don't run into them and their holes out in the field where the places that I hunt, and I hunt a lot of different places.
That's interesting. I wonder why that is.
I don't know. Maybe it's the soil composition here.
So I was just going to say
That's one thing. And they're actually I think I said this on a real early podcast, maybe the one with Harrison, is that they didn't used to be here. I had the old timer tell me that, that was with the whistle pig thing.
Right.
He said we didn't used to have whistle pigs here. And I had no idea what a damn whistle pig was. And I looked at my sponsor and he said groundhogs. I was like, oh, okay.
It's such a funny term for a groundhog. It's hilarious.
It's perfect though. It's spot on. Whistle pigs.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to bring up another subject. What do you think about? This is sensitive, all right? This is real sensitive.
Okay.
There's some people who have permission to hunt in like city parks and county parks.
Do it.
You think do it?
Yeah. Why not?
I have mixed feelings about it because, we're trying to give our birds the best opportunity at slips that we can.
What's better than a park squirrel? Eating out of a garbage can.
The name of our podcast is called Sporting Chance. You think it's very sporting to catch squirrels in a park?
I think that I've caught quite a few squirrels in parks and quite a few ducks in parks, and had the sheriffs knock on my door a couple times for it. Yeah, because by me in my county, the parks are like county parks. A lot of them, the nice ones with the squirrels, and we caught a duck right on the side, and I wasn't in anybody's way. Nobody saw me really. There was just this annoying ass couple, like this beta male and this big butch woman, and the duck was dead. The bird was plucking and eating off of it. This was Karen, and they come up to me and they're like, I hear them. I'm like sitting there with the bird, just minding my own business, and they're like, I just hear like, well, you're not supposed to do that. And I'm just like sitting there and like, hello, you're not supposed to do that. And then I turn around and there's like this fucking fat lady standing there and this little nerdy guy. And they're like, you're not supposed to do that. Why is your bird doing that? And I'm like, what am I doing? And they're like, oh, the bird, you're not supposed to fly a bird here. I said, what makes you say that? And then anyway, the conversation progressed. And then I ended up taking time out of my day and my hunt to sit there and explain to them falconry and how wonderful it is and how good the birds are. And the beta male was like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. That's awesome. Wow, that's actually really cool that you do that. That's very fascinating. Dude, that was my lunch break. I go back to work. I get a call from my landlord and he's like, yeah, there's two sheriff's deputies here looking for you, because I had my work truck. So they called the number on the phone, looked up the business address, and it was my house. And then he's like, can I give them your number? I was like, I guess. So then they called me and they like started like freaking interrogating me over the phone. They're like, yeah, we're in your backyard here. You cannot fly your hawk in this park. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, sorry about that. They're like, yeah, falconry is illegal in this county park. I'm like, is that an ordinance? They're like, yes, it actually is an ordinance, believe it or not. You can have a hawk in the park, but it has to be leashed. And then it just
that's pretty specific.
Yeah, I think I know the guys. I'm not going to say his name, but there was a guy back in like the 70s and 80s that ruined it for like all county parks. He was
literally still around.
No, he's not. But he was awesome. He was my kind of guy. He was literally
say his name.
No, I'm not going to say his name because I was told not to like repeat it. But he would literally like kill ducks with peregrines at like 400-foot stoops, like in county parks, like while people are walking their dogs. Like he was badass. He was awesome.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was sick, man. And and I looked it up. Actually, I looked it up. The Passaic County Park has literally says like all the way at the bottom of the rules, it says falconry is prohibited in this park. And they were going to write me a ticket, and then I kind of changed my tone and I said, "Listen, I didn't know I was flying next door. If she flew over, which is kind of true, kind of.
Not really.
I mean, those ducks just sitting there, man. Like, come on, don't just sit there like that. But yeah, I shouldn't have been there or whatever. And there was nobody in the park when I did it. It was like, it was dead. Freezing cold out. It was like 10 degrees out. There's nobody around.
Well, someone will always show up when you least.
Bro, like literally, dude. Like it's like 10 degrees out, and it's like these random people are just like wandering around the park, just enjoying the park. You believe that? Like how stupid is that? They're just enjoying the park,
enjoying nature. Ridiculous. So, do you think a duck out of a park means as much as a duck out of the wild?
It depends how it flushes. Definitely depends how it flushes. If I have to like damn near jump onto it to get it to fly, then no, it's a park duck that's used to being fed. If I show my face to it and walk towards it and it flushes clean, then yeah, hell yeah. That thing's from Canada, bro. That's a wild duck.
So let's say I caught 200 squirrels, but they were all park squirrels. Would that be as impressive as 100 squirrels out in the wilderness?
What if you caught 200 squirrels in the next property over from the park, in state property? Would it make a difference? They travel 60 miles, remember? Precisely 60 miles, exactly. That's the question, right? And
are you just playing devil's advocate here?
I'm playing devil's advocate, but at the same time, in all sincerity, I think that if the name of the game is to put slips in front of your bird, and you have permission to catch squirrels in a park where there's a crap ton of squirrels, I mean, I'm not going to say no to that. I'm going to go catch squirrels. I'm not going to brag about it like I'm like I'm breaking new ground in the county park with the water fountain. Like, but your bird doesn't know the difference. If it's not a bag. True. And this is the other thing is when you can have a squirrel that will jump on a picnic table while people are eating and they can feed it friggin' scraps of their food and nuts and stuff. The second it sees a hawk, it instantly goes back to being a wild squirrel. It knows exactly what that is, and it knows exactly what hole, what garbage can, what dumpster, what thing it wants to go into, and it becomes a wild squirrel again. Doesn't really matter that it's in a park; it's still a wild squirrel. The ducks are different because the ducks are like just, they're just like, I mean, I've had to like, like they just won't flush, and it's just at that point it's not fun anymore because it's just like they won't flush, and it's like. It's just pathetic. It's like I'm basically catching a baggie that I didn't even touch, and it's not that for me with ducks that are habituated. I've caught my share of habituated ducks. I've also caught my share of completely wild, feral, ducks that have never maybe not even seen humans before until they came down out of wherever the heck they were. Where like just the sight of the tip of your head on the marshes in Jersey, like they're gone. And I've caught those ducks. So. I think that if you have permission to be in a park and you have written permission to be there, I think you'd be stupid to not be there and kill the crap out of all those squirrels. Maybe that's just because where I am, you can't do that, and I'm not allowed to do it, so I don't do it anymore. And in my defense, because we did get a message, we get quite a few messages from people that are very happy with the podcast, and we get a couple messages from people that are not happy with the podcast. And a lot of them say that we take light of the rules and we should be very protective of the rules.
I think we're critical of the rules because some of the rules are bullshit.
Yeah, I think if you can play frisbee with your Rottweiler in the park, I think I can play catch with my bird off leash.
Sure. Yeah, I am of the opinion that some of that, let's say you have permission to hunt in a county park, that it, as far as the type of falconry I want to do, I don't want to do much of that. I'll do a little bit of that if I have permission. But I much prefer going to more wild places. And in addition to that, I don't want to deal with all the people in those places either.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's, there's you're guaranteed to get some nonsense going. And also, how does it look? What's the perception to the public too? Because we always have to guard falconry. You're out in a park, your bird catches a squirrel and lands in the playground with it.
God forbid.
As plucking it, you have to run in there and, crush the squirrel with your hand in front of a bunch of kids. It's just a bad look. You don't want that. You do not want that. It's not for the general public to see.
Okay, so that's where me and you may disagree slightly, because it may not be for them to see, but it is a reality that is around them. So
it's not my job to educate them.
No, I agree, and there's not, and there's I agree, and I'm not out here to educate people and give them little talks and waste 30 minutes talking to some disheveled couple in 10-degree weather just for them to call the sheriff's department on me anyway. You know what I mean? That really pissed me off, and you know what I mean? Like I was really trying to be a very, and the duck was dead. It was over. There was leaves everywhere, so they really couldn't see anything. They just saw white goshawks with their, with the birds back to them, and they were like giving me hell over it. They didn't see anything, and they still made a scene about it. So I do agree with you that, like, yeah, if there's people in the park and it's like a very crowded park, then yeah, you know what I mean? But if it's like, I know a couple parks that are legal to actually go to, and there's like, there's like a couple benches, a couple picnic tables, maybe like a walking trail, and then it's just like all like phenomenal rabbit cover and squirrels everywhere. And it's like super thick. No one's in there. No one's going back there. There's no trails back there. But it's technically...
Rabbits don't get tame, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they'll get like a little bit, less. But once they sense that something's after them, then they're like, just like I said, they go right back to what their their natural instincts. But it's yeah, I agree with you. There's a balance. If there's a park where there's people, and you're running around the tree with a stick and a hockey stick and screaming, and the bird, and the squirrels squealing and like, whatever, I could see how that could be a bad look. But if the county gave you permission, or the park itself gave you permission to be there, then it really doesn't matter. It would just be up to you if you can do it in a more nonchalant way instead of screaming like so many of us do. Just be more like a little bit more casual about it. And I don't know, man. That's a good point that you bring up. But having struggled to find game before in the past, to drive past a place that has game where you have permission to go into the middle of nowhere and beat brush and pull vines until it gets dark to get no slips or maybe one slip. I think that like, if you have better places to go, then go. But if you don't,
I'm with you on that. If that's my option, it's either that or don't fly a hawk, then that's what it is.
I would still fly.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would still fly.
If my choice is not fly a hawk or hawk somewhere I'd rather not hawk, I'm going to hawk somewhere I'd rather not hawk.
Yeah, I don't like dealing with people. And growing up in Bergen County and flying in the suburbs of Bergen County for, 17 years before I moved out of the area, I've dealt with, I mean, there was a time where the cops would get called on me at least once a week, maybe twice a week.
I've got a spot that's kind of public, and I've had the cops called on me twice. It's industrial property that I have permission to be there, but it's visible,
right,
to some of the public, and I think it's to the point now where the cops are like, yeah, we know he's fine.
Yeah, they kind of educate them for you.
Yeah.
Dude, I was at an office park chasing ducks, and the owner I don't know if it was the owner of the office park or the building, but he came out, and I was like, "Oh, sorry, just lost my bird," like just gave him some line, and then I got her back in the glove, and he was like just staring at me, and I thought he was going to start yelling at me, and then he like walks around over the bridge and comes over, and I'm like, all right, like, you going to fight? Like, and then he goes into this long speech of how he went to Mongolia and he's been into falconry since he was a child, and he paid like $30,000 to go on this experience in Mongolia. He was talking about Lauren, all this stuff. And I gave him my info, cause he was like super, like, you know what I mean? Like super into it. And then, Never heard about it. Never heard from him again. But it was just like super weird, that would like at that moment that would happen. Dude, there's a lot of very strange things that happen in falconry. For example, this is probably the craziest story in falconry that
Oh,
that
boy.
I was a part of. No, it's nothing. It's nothing like. It's crazy, right? But it's not like, oh my god. So we're flying with Zach. He has a chamber bird. Bird was a little heavy. Train comes by, spooks the bird. Bird takes off in like a panic. Dude, it's like the sun is like going down. Like in a half an hour, it's going to be dark. Bird is gone. Dude, we're freaking jumping fences, running around with he's following the GPS. We're jumping over people's fences, dogs barking. Phil jumps in the minivan. He's driving around. He's calling us what direction, going like this. Me and Zach are running me and Zach are not built for running. Let's be honest.
He's got no telemetry on it, I take it.
No, he's got telemetry. We're following the GPS, but the bird is just like, like a bat. Not, like it was just a very high strung chamber bird. Let's just put it that way.
It's moving.
It was not having it, and then it would land, and then people would be taking the trash out, and it would just bump again, and we're running. Phil's driving. So Phil's driving in the minivan, and then he pulls around this corner, and he like this guy pulls out, and he almost hits the guy. And they pull over, and Phil's like, "Oh, hey, I'm so sorry." This and that. And the guy's like, "Oh, why are you in such a rush?" And the guy's like, "Where are you going?" It was like wanted to chat. And Phil's like, well, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm with a couple friends of mine, and we just lost one of our hawks that we were flying. And the guy literally starts crying, like tears start coming out of his eyes. And Phil goes, "All right." The guy goes, "That's insane that you just told me that." Phil's like, "Okay, yeah, it's pretty interesting, I guess." The guy goes, My brother just died last year. This is the anniversary of his death. And he was a falconer." Wow. I'm like, what the hell? Isn't that insane? And then Phil talked to him, and we get to the bird. We're throwing everything in the kitchen sink on the front lawn of this freaking giant house, this mansion in Bergen County. And we're trying to get the bird out of the tree. The sun is down, mind you. Bird finally comes down. I pulled my phone out with the light. We're shining it on the carcass. We're like wiggling it. Finally comes down out of the tree. Bird lands on the ground. I'm calling Phil. Phil's not answering because I'm like, where the heck is this guy? Meanwhile, he's having like this long heart-to-heart with this guy that was talking about deleting himself, as they say online, and how this is an incredible moment. This is a sign. And I'm calling him like, where the fuck are you, bro? We're like, and bird comes down, lands on the rabbit. Zach like gets in there, clips the thing in, thing's all wigged out. It's just like grabs the rabbit and it's just standing on it in the dark. You know what I mean? Like one of those moments where the thing is just so like spazzed. It was done. It just didn't even want to eat. As we're standing there talking, right into the same branch that goshawk came out of, a freaking giant female great horned owl.
Good Lord.
Bro. And it is up in the tree, and I could see it because the sun is like down, and I could see it was like one of those nights where it's like bright with the snow and stuff. And I could see the thing bobbing and leaning off of the branch like it was about to freaking come out of the tree while we're standing there while the bird's on the ground. And I'm like, Zach, dude, give me that carcass. And I'm like throwing the carcass, and the thing's head bobbing the carcass and all. Dude, it was crazy. And then finally we just jogged down the road with this hooded goshawk through this neighborhood. And then we finally found Phil, and Phil's like I think he had like tears in his eyes. It was like, and he's like, and he told us a story, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that is a crazy story. I'm like, he's like, the guy gave me his number. He was telling me all this crazy stuff. Like, I hope he does, I hope he's okay. Like, what are the odds of that happening? Isn't it nuts?
There's got to be something at play there.
So it's just a sign that falconry is meant to be.
For some of us.
Yeah. My wife wishes it wasn't for me, but it is.
It's for me, not for thee.
Yeah, exactly. So is there anything else you want to cover before we wrap this thing up?
That's got to be the perfect ending. That's I'm surprised you haven't told me that story before.
Dude, I don't like all the stories that I have, I don't like think of them until they like pop up. Another crazy one that I've told this like 50,000 times, but I'm going to tell it again. We're on the topic of crazy stories. So Teddy Moritz, who we've talked about on this podcast like every episode basically, because she's
Who?
yeah, exactly. Teddy Moritz. So Teddy Moritz is Phil's sponsor, my sponsor. Okay. Teddy sponsors Phil. Phil has a child, his firstborn child, Sylvia. Sylvia's birthday is on Teddy Moritz's birthday, the exact day.
Wow.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Phil sponsors me. Okay. I have a child, my firstborn child, Leo. Leo's birthday is on Phil's birthday, the exact same day. Then Phil sponsors James, NAFA's lawyer. James, well, he just recently had a child. Congratulations, James Maynard. But his wife birthday is on Phil's birthday.
Unbelievable.
Isn't that insane?
That's wild.
I think it's the same day or a couple days removed.
And what are these dates?
Bro, are you trying to get my identity, bro?
Let me.
Leo,
I also need your social.
It's November 17th. It's Phil's. And then I don't know Sylvia's birthday off the top of my head. I love Teddy Moritz, but I don't remember birthdays.
Huh.
I barely
got it in my phone. I'll have to look.
Look at you. You got a timer and everything.
If I figure out somebody's birthday, a friend of mine, I program it in my phone.
That's good of you to do.
In your contacts.
Yeah, you're very diligent. I usually wish people happy birthday when I see thanks for all the birthday wishes on Facebook. I go, oh yeah, happy birthday, bro.
Oh yeah, I totally knew. I totally knew it was your birthday. Facebook didn't tell me.
Dude, I'm literally the worst. I'm the worst with dates and stuff. I don't
tell
like
people. My stepmom's birthday is my birthday. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Same year too.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stories. I've heard some other ones from other people. Maybe if you're listening to this and you have a crazy falconry story,
let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Drop it in the comments.
Yeah, drop it in the comments. Yeah, we're blowing up right now, people. Yeah.
By the way,
go ahead.
We just recently hit 5,000 downloads.
Yeah, we're killing it. It's the listenership is what up? What you sent me some stat from the website?
It was like 47%.
47% up, and we were just up like 30-something% like the month before. So the podcast is growing. We appreciate everybody listening. This episode was like a little bit like we were just kind of itching to get on. So we just kind of, hey, you know what? Listen, we'll talk about some stuff that helped us in the past and whatever. We're no experts by any means, but we know what works for us. And if anything that we say helps you guys, and use it. If not, tell us to shut up.
Yeah.
But we appreciate the support from everybody. And we still got t-shirts available. We still got a couple available. I become like a plumber / like t-shirt salesman. I'm out here freaking weighing packages, putting stickers. We need more stickers. Aaron, by the way, we got to order more stickers. We're almost sold out of stickers. Even though the stickers are free, we just throw them in the bags for the t-shirts. But we really appreciate everybody's support. We really do. And we really enjoy it.
The t-shirts are funding the podcast. So if you're a fan of the podcast, hit up New Jersey Falconry on Instagram or Casey Everett on Facebook and order a shirt. No joke, we're not just like saying this. People just like rant and rave about the quality of the shirts.
Yeah, and it was reflected in the price that we paid for them. Believe me.
Yeah, they weren't dirt cheap shirts. That's for sure.
No, we could have went any different number of routes to get t-shirts to listeners, and Aaron was actually the one. Aaron was the one that kind of said, no, we got to get nice high end screen print, nice shirts with good quality. And I didn't know the difference. I was just kind of like a t-shirt's a t-shirt, but they're really nice shirts. They're really nice. The art pops off the shirt. You can wash it. It won't, it's in the shirt. They're really nice shirts. And we appreciate everybody buying them. And we're completely sold out of larges. But we got plenty of everything else. So if you want shirts, let us know. And we bought in-person equipment to record. Buying some more equipment for the podcast. We've got some stuff in the works for maybe some falconry meets this season, some donations, maybe some like live interviews at the meets, not like on, in front of the whole group, but like, we'll get a suite and then have like, whoever wants to come to the room, have drinks, and we'll do a couple interviews for people to hang out and listen. We're just trying to plan fun stuff. You know what I mean? we're doing this for fun. At the end of the day, we're not trying to make any money. It's literally costing us money, but we think it's fun to do. It has nothing to do with our ego whatsoever. It's just it's fun. It's fun to have these conversations, and I'm enjoying learning from all the different guests that we have. We got a really special guest coming up next week. If everything works out, there's quite a bit of a time difference. So I'll give you a little hint. But this
14
guy,
hours, right?
14-hour difference, yeah. So so we set it all up. So in the near future here, hopefully next week, the episode will air. If everything works out, we got a couple in the bank that we're gonna edit and get out. Luckily, this is a team effort from both of us. Me and my wife are doing the shirts. I'm doing all the social media stuff. So if you see me like replying to myself, like pretending that it's not me, it's me. Like, hey, that was a great podcast. Yeah, I know. Thanks. But it's all me. On the social media, we have a Facebook page, which is like Facebook is like antiquated basically. But if you follow us and like it and leave a 5-star review on wherever you're listening, that actually goes a long way. It really does. So if you could leave us a 5-star review, we really appreciate it. And Aaron does all the back end stuff, all the technical stuff. Him and his wife, they do the editing. They keep the StreamYard app running. It's a yearly subscription, so we both pay for it. So there's a couple things that go into this financially that we're just putting into it, and we don't want any money from you, really. We just want to make sure that we're giving you guys a good product and that you're enjoying it, and and that's it. That's all
we don't want any money yet. That day will come when our hands are out.
Yeah, we don't care. I don't care. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm content.
All right, man. That's a wrap.
Great talk.